You're listening to a main feed episode. Go to patreon.com/Celtic Ligers where €5 a month gets you weekly full-length episodes, stray bonus content and access to the back catalogue. Also helps cover hosting and gives us money for sweeties. Thank you. Celtic Ligers.
Recorded August 2nd, 2024.
All right, recording. The past few times, by the way, I've just been able to drop my audio in immediately on top of your audio, and it syncs up perfectly. Zainab's dying over here.
Yeah,
she got a cold. So if you hear whenever you hear those noises, that's what's happening there.
Yeah. So any news?
Any news?
Apart from what we already talked about.
Yeah, we're trying something different here, where we got radically
nothing
misaligned schedule wise, and the episodes that weren't coming out regular. And then you sent me, so I recorded on Thursday, and then I still had yet to edit the episode on Saturday, and then you were like, do you want to record on Sunday? I was like, do we even have anything to fucking talk about? And then I was like, but it would be good to get back on track and have regular episodes, and all of the articles come out on the Sunday, and if we do it early in the day, then we'll have energy. And so we're doing it. We're trying to get back on track. But I have to say, I have somehow less energy. My cold is dragging me down.
Yeah.
I feel like shit. And I do have do I have anything to talk about? Any personal news? Nothing has happened. What did we watch? Oh, we're watching Black Books.
Oh, yeah. Who wrote that again?
Well, I know you're trying to catch me out. You think that you've gotten me, but you haven't. Dylan Moran has written Black Books. The first season was partially written by Graham Linehan, but we're not watching the fucking first season. We're watching season 2 and 3, where the good stuff is. And actually, I have something to say about that, because the first season of Black Books has Graham Linehan's little fucking fingerprints all over it. The Irish lad who watched Seinfeld when nobody else watched Seinfeld. And you have there's an episode in it where Fran and Bernard have two kind of different things happening.
Damn.
Imagine. But anyway, they're sitting down to talk about it. But one of the things that happens is that Bernard gets blanked by somebody. Do you know? Do you remember this?
Blanking.
Yeah, and they literally go into it. They go, "He blanked you? He blanked me. What's it? He blanked you? He blanked." And they just it literally becomes like Seinfeld.
And so what? So they blanked you.
So what? So what? They blanked me. That's like an awesomely powerful thing to do in civilized society.
Then I suddenly remembered what you said about the awesome power of the blank.
And then at one point, Fran goes, "So I tried to do what you suggested, the power of the blank. You used the blank, I used the blank." And it's like, oh. Yeah. And then when you get to season 2 and 3, it's like they have Andy Riley and Kevin Cecil writing it with them. And it becomes like more kind of like just visual gags and just an assortment of things happening. So it'd be like, what if they ran a restaurant? You know what I mean? But like with Seinfeld and even in Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's that thing of like, we talked about it before, but like the arc and the idea of like these things happening. So like, okay, I told a lie. We did watch one episode from season 1, but there's a bit where like, it's the one where they install the security system and then Bernard gets locked out.
Yeah, in the toilets to make sure the right people are going into the right toilet.
Exactly. But there's a bit in it anyway where obviously Manny, who's played by Bill Bailey, is not able to focus on the code that's being given to him. He's like, "Oh, you need to type in this code to get into the place." Do you remember?
Into the toilet.
Into the toilet. And you have to put in your toilet? You have to put in your chromosome. Yeah. That's 1, 2. That's good too. So I just thought your genetic sequence, how many chromosomes and But anyway, they So there's a bit anyway, but the whole thing is that Bernard gets locked out because they don't know how to turn off the security system, because Manny got distracted while talking to the security guy. And then at one point, like, Bernard is on the phone, and then some guy's asking him for a bill. He's like, yeah, I will pay that bill. I will pay that bill. And he's getting yelled at so much that he severs the cord of the phone. Yeah. And so then later on, when Bernard tries to ring the shop, he can't because they sever. And that's a sort of like Graham Linehan, Seinfeld type thing to me, where it's like, oh, this happened here, so this can't happen later on, you know?
Yeah.
And like, oh, this thing that was mentioned at the start, oh, this thing came back at the end. And, you know, all of these little stories and subplots are kind of weaving in and out of each other. Whereas in like season 2 and 3, it's like, I don't really give a shit. Let's just make it funny. Like, who cares, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
will you do me a favor? Will you listen back to your recording? Because I think Mike is... I just think it's a bit fuzzy, and I don't know if that's on my end. So I'm going to go to the toilet.
So what were we talking about? We were talking about Black Books, and we watched it, and it's kind of funny, but the first season is just sitcom-y, whereas the second 2 are like the funniest because they're kind of just... They're almost like newspaper comics. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like it. I think it's funny.
So, if you had to write with all these reboots happening, imagine a modern day Black Books, what would that be like?
The funny thing about it is there's a lot of stuff in Black Books that still, like, surprisingly holds up. I mean, it was kind of around the time of, like, do you know those like book chains where they would have coffee and muffins and stuff like that? But there was a lot of kind of like gentrification. And the idea is that Bernard is like this curmudgeonly bookshop owner. And there's all these forces that are just kind of coming around him to like squeeze him out or like... And a lot of it could even be kind of like, you know that show like Last Man Standing or something with Tim Allen? Where it's like... It used to be that there were only 2 genders and, you know, like men were men and women were women. And, you know, it's like a version of that, but for like kind of artsy Irish guys who moved to London. Do you know what I mean? And so that's kind of funny where they're just like, there'd be people talking to him and kind of condescending to him. And I think that like, you wouldn't have to go that far to do a reboot these days. I mean, except for obviously the part where there's a lot less secondhand bookshops and property prices, and there'd be no way he'd have a bookshop in central London.
Is it in central London, is it?
Well, maybe not central London. I mean, I don't know London
good question.
geography all
where
that well,
is
but it's in... Yeah, where is it? I'm going to look it up.
It's funny how it's the same plot as the one with Megan and Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
What's that?
Have you got mail?
Yeah.
So apparently the bookshop was in Bloomsbury, London.
No, where is that?
I know, but it sounds fucking posh, doesn't it? Oh, it was in Camden. So
yeah, it's hard to know. Like in England, you know, you have like gangs repping, you know, Norwich or something.
Yeah, Finsbury on High, and then it's like, it's like that sounds posh, man. It's like, no, it's not. It's fucking
it's actually really scary.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find some news from Bloomsbury.
Yeah, what's going on in Bloomsbury?
It's getting a massive £400 million facelift.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's good or bad.
All right.
Depending on who you are.
So yeah, our plan was to go off and buy the Sunday papers and see what people were saying, but neither of us got up on time, so we're just going to go on the websites and hope that they have stuff there.
Yeah. Anything off the top of your head?
Top of my head. And you're not looking for like news. We're not looking for the hard stuff. We're looking for like preamble stuff.
No, anything at all.
Well, then it'd probably be all the riots that are taking place all over the UK.
Yeah.
And a bit of Ireland that they won't fucking give back.
Yes. You got there in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really kicking off, isn't it? I like the video or the picture you sent me. It was in Belfast, and there was a Union Jack, or she's. So they say it's only a Union Jack when it's at sea. Do you ever hear that?
Yeah, I don't know that. Yeah.
When it's on land, you're not supposed to call it a Union Jack.
What is it called when you're on land?
The Union flag.
Oh, interesting.
And it was the Union flag. How do they say it about flags?
Yeah, sure.
And then there's another sign that says Kulak says no.
I know.
That was
yeah.
I have three favorite things coming together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two types of racism.
It's so strange just because like you'd be going, oh, there's like, so like three kids were killed by a 17-year-old in Southport.
England.
And then in England. And then 3 days later, a bunch of guys showed up and were like, let's attack the mosque.
At the vigil, isn't it? This was kicking
I don't know
off.
if it was a vigil.
I thought this was kicking off after a vigil.
It could very possibly be that. But either way, there was nothing to indicate that the person who committed the attack was Muslim. And it turned out obviously that he was a Muslim, not that it would have made a difference to these people. But either way, they were like, fuck the mosque. So they fucked up the mosque. And then all of these people who were there were like, this isn't helping. Like,
yes.
Like we just had 3 kids die. And I don't feel all that much better now that you've taken chunks out of a mosque and headed home, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was watching like Navarra and they were like, well, that's the last we'll see of them. I swear to God, they said that at least twice throughout the week, you know? And then the next day it was like, oh, it kicked off in London again.
Why would you ever say that? Do you know what I mean?
I have no idea. I have no idea why they thought that. And because the reason I brought that up was because like what happened in Dublin, like, you know, there was incidents happening before, sure. But they really ramped up since Dublin. The Dublin riots late last year.
Yeah.
2023. So I was like, oh, this feels eerily similar and like a lot more shit is going to go wrong. And sure enough, then over the weekend, it was like, so on Saturday, it was like, yeah, look at this. There's something happening here. That's pretty bad. But anyway, and then you would see another photo and you were like, oh, right. So that thing's still happening in Liverpool. It's like, no, this is in Belfast. You're like, uh-huh. And then it'd be like just seeing like the whole country just lighten up. It'd be like Hull, Manchester, you know, like Hartlepool. There's all these different places. I was just like, fucking hell, man. They were like, and they were like, so then like there was all these people and they were going like, because I was following it throughout the day and it was like, we showed up to push back the fash and they did, you know, in some instances. And then the fascists just came back in the night and were just like, all right, well now this library is burnt down. And now somebody pointed out as well this, they just retweeted this. They were like, they give a positive review of this falafel place in Belfast.
Yeah.
They're like, well, this just got burned to the ground.
Really?
So like, they're just like going, and then there's loads of videos of just like somebody's black, somebody's Asian, somebody's like, you know, Arab. It's like they're just going over, punching them in the face, beating the shit out of them. In some instances, the cops might come over to them, but then might end up like subduing the wrong person for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So that's been the kind of general, like, I don't have like story of what's happening. This is just how I was following it throughout the day. And it was like, hideous and awful. And then you compare it to like, do you remember massive demonstrations for Palestine, bigger than these race riots for fucking sure.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And yet the amount of coverage where it's like, there's a dangerous rise in anti-Semitism. These people need to be put down. What are we going to do about this?
Yeah.
Like, no violent incidents whatsoever. And now all these violent incidents have happened and they're going, I hate you because you're another race. That's it. I hate you because you're Muslim. I hate you because this just pure racism. And these people are like, they're nothing but violent thugs. And we need to get the cops on them harder, you know?
Yeah.
We need to introduce body cams and get facial recognition software. And you just think like, why? So that you can like jail some Just Stop Oil protesters for holding a fucking meeting. Do you know? It's insane. It's just like, I only see all this ramping up of policing that's going to be used on the people who've not done anything wrong. Do you know?
Yeah.
That's clearly what's going to happen. And then of course, like, you know, the whole election was ran on that over in the UK. They were like, we need to stop the small boats. We need to get them the fuck out of here. You know, they were like, everybody who's marching in support of Palestine is an anti-Semite. Therefore, you know, every Muslim is an anti-Semite. To be Arab is anti-Semitic, basically.
Yeah.
All of the shit that they've been doing. And now they're going like, yeah, these thugs just out of nowhere just started like beating the shit out of people. But also they've got legitimate concerns and we need to listen to them, which is obviously what Sinn Féin did here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's mental. It's mental. The whole thing is very, very upsetting. And I don't really know where that ends. Where does that go? Like, there's no thoughtful voices in this debate. They made very, very sure to remove all of the people who had something more insightful to say about this.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's my thoughts on it. See if there's any other ones.
I sent you some news.
Oh, okay. Zainab sent me some news. Oh, yeah, by the way, Keir Starmer is on holiday
I saw that.
and he's not coming back.
And how long is he going away for?
I don't know, but like before he went in, they were like, he's going to take Friday evenings off. He's just going to, you know, he's like, I don't care about him taking Friday evenings off. I'm just saying that there's so much talk about like, look, this guy has a hard job. He needs to take time off. It's like, why are you saying this before you've gotten in? And now you've gotten in, race riots up and down the entire United Kingdom, including a bit of our fucking country. You know, don't get me started. But anyway, he's like, do you want to come back from holiday? No, I think that they can sort it. It's like, do you know, it's fucking mental. There was a fella, I can't remember his name, but he put out this tweet the day after the election and people have just been dragging it ever since. You know, it was a main character sort of tweet. But he just said, it's nice, isn't it? The quiet. Because like now that the Tories, this guy just said this. It's like he was some commentator, I think, or somebody who has a skin in the game. I don't know what his deal was, but the idea of just going like, you know, it's the British version of we can all go back to brunch now. You know? And then like 2 weeks into his premiership, fucking race riots across the country, and then what's his like, you know, what does he make of that? Like, okay, ask him about Just Stop Oil. And he goes, I'm against what you're doing. Go home. You know, these people need to be cracked down on. They're ruining people's lives. And then when it comes to like the race riots, it's like, you know, there's a lot of anger. You know, like just kind of like they're saying thugs, but they won't say like what the fuck it is. You know, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe I'm always like hesitant to be like I don't know what I expect for them is basically what I'm saying. Like what response would I have liked? And, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they've just been like reaching out to these people for so long. Do you know what I mean? So like, there's just, it sort of misses the point to be like, what's the response? Because then the whole thing is like, this is partly their do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like they've been ramping up the rhetoric alongside it, you know?
Well, that was the thing about the Palestine thing, where it's like a legitimization of Islamophobia, because it's like, no, they are incompatible with our Western values because they hate the Jews. That's why they're out there every week doing these demonstrations, or every second week or whatever. So anyway, that's what they've done as well. So now anybody who's got like a fucking hijab is just like a prime target for some dickhead, you know? Anyway, sorry to cut across, but just not only have they been ramping it up with the small boat stuff, they've also been ramping it up with the anti-Palestine stuff.
Yeah. So like their only response in theory would be to respond like they did to the Palestinian stuff, but they're never going to do that because like they're just more interested. They see these people as potential converts, you know what I mean? Like ideally they'd like these people rioting to vote for Labour, you know?
Yeah.
And they think that they can manage that.
I don't know why they think they can manage that. I just don't know why they would be like, why don't you join our like racist right-wing project? Because like I have two others which are even more racist and right-wing. Like why the fuck would I choose Labour?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
You got Reform.
Yeah. Or the Tories.
Like people, obviously the Tories are in time out now for a while, but like Reform like did quite well in the last election. Like they missed out and, you know, they split the vote between Reform and the Tories, but if it had been a choice between Reform and Labour, then Reform probably would have won, do you know?
Yeah. And it is just like here. I don't know, they just see these people as they're just happy for the centre, as they call it, to just shift further and further to the right.
Yeah.
You know? So they're never gonna, like I said, I don't know what there's no response there's no immediate response that would be acceptable because you don't want to see the police going in just beating the shit out of people, but like the response is just well, it's more that you're just seeing that project work out, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's just like it's too late. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was a time where conversations were happening where it's like we need to actually address some of the material conditions which are bringing about this stuff, and then they were like, no. And now we're at the part where there's just riots and then all these minority groups being targeted, and then they're just like, yeah, but maybe I'll be fine for a while, you know?
Yeah.
Before the water gets too high or something.
Yeah.
You know? And then I don't know what you do, because like that's the thing, is like when you see something that's as ugly as like, oh, I'm just burning down a library and just beating the shit out of like this black guy, and then it's like, you know, I'm seeing responses from them, oh, they have legitimate concerns. Obviously they do not have legitimate concerns, okay?
Yeah.
But what, like, you're supposed to be like, how do we address the underlying causes of this? Well, it's investment in these communities, and it's like I know it sounds like it is reactionary, and you have to have your, you know, rise above yourself sometimes. But then it's like, why the fuck do I want to give this guy a bunch of money? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why would, like, imagine if the government came out tomorrow and it's like, okay, we are going to invest heavily in these communities who have been horribly affected, and it's just kind of like, well, it's not even there. Like, sorry, anyway, I'm kind of telling, you know, the wrong thing there, because a lot of these people are genuinely like shipped in, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the people who were pointing out in Southport, they were like, never seen any of those guys in my life, and then they all headed off at pretty much exactly 11 p.m. to catch the last train.
Really?
You know, and it's the same in Ireland.
Yeah.
Like all of these guys, like the amazing clip which we should have played last week of in Dundalk, when that guy, like, that's like, do you know the sickly pale racists from Dublin? Sorry, man. And they've got these, they just look like massive calcium deficiency.
Someone said I could have a calcium deficiency.
Just like skin clinging to their bones, always wearing a loose white t-shirt, and have this really angry rat face on, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like walking, and then this guy from Dundalk is filming, just going, are you from fucking Dublin? Are you from fucking Coolock, you know?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, what of it? What of it? And he's trying to get through the crowd and they're going, fuck off back to Dublin, you fuck it. They're just like, and they just run him out of town. It's one of the funniest things where it's like, they just like, talk about fucking eugenics. You're able to spot these racists on sight. You know what I mean? Like, you just know this guy, you are a fucking racist dub. I can tell by the fucking gimp of you, you know?
Here, you're down from Coolock, are you? Well, you're down in the dog. Well, fuck off. You're not wanted here. Get the fuck back to Coolock. Get the fuck back to Coolock, you racist bastard. Get the fuck, you bastard. Shame on you, you fucking wanker.
And they just like, they run him out of town. It's one of the funniest clips. But anyway, that's the modus operandi. These people are like, you know, but I also don't want to fall back on that too much because I do think that there are, you know, there's places like Newtown, Mount Kennedy. There's places like Rosscray. You know, they are the locals. They are the people who are giving out about this and who are being racist.
Yeah,
you know?
but there were people shipped into those places too.
Oh yeah, there was. But like, you know, it's not like an entirely astroturfed movement. It is, and it has legs. It's effective, and
yeah,
kind of like how do you deal with that? And
well, I think
what am I saying? Yeah,
I think like the thing of not wanting to give them money. You get the sentiment, but then I suppose like the money isn't going to them. Like the benefit of investing in these places. I mean, obviously it's to help people, but it also it takes the oxygen out of the conversation, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if people aren't feeling so under pressure, say, regarding housing, it takes the oxygen out of the far-right rhetoric.
I should say, like, you know, it's not me personally saying that because that's not what I believe.
Yeah.
I'm just vocalizing how I imagine it would be perceived if it went out there.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
One of the things actually, even on Navarra, because this is what they were talking about. This guy, he's like 17. Maybe I'm going to say something unpopular, okay? But now that could lead off in a big tangent. Maybe I won't bother.
Just say
it. Just the 17-year-old who stabbed those 3 kids.
Yeah.
On Navarra, he was like, I hope that they lock him up and throw away the key because I don't believe in putting resources into rehabilitating a guy who committed a crime like that. And I was like a fucking teenager who committed a crime like that's not normal behavior, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think that, like, I just find it funny. It's not funny, but like when people are like confronted with really ugly mental health shit, that their reaction is like, no, he's a wrong and lock him up, throw away the key.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I was trying to kind of tease it out. This is where it could go off in a tangent, but I was like, well, how do you feel about like Israeli society? And I was like, I guess that's sort of a different thing because I was trying to think about like, well, does that mean that I believe in redemption for everybody? And I was like, yeah, I do. And then I was like, what about like some like indoctrinated Israeli? And I was like, I actually do believe that they could be redeemed. But the thing is that it would require this concentrated program that'd be close to denazification, you know? It would mean like all of the world, like basically like everybody needs to be re-educated over the course of like years.
Yeah. So I think the mistake you're making though is that there was no like concerted denazification. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I suppose
like
not.
what happened.
I mean, like, yeah,
what happened with the Nazis was, you know, they divided up the country.
Yeah.
They took away its like strength. You know what I mean? But then, like, gradually, like a lot of the Nazi leaders, and like I was saying, like a lot of the Nazi politicians just became politicians in East Germany or West Germany. You know?
Yeah.
And like the European controlled Germany. And then, like, there are Nazis involved in setting up the UN and NATO and all this.
No.
So, like, what they did with Nazi Germany was they just took away its strength, you know?
Right.
And then gradually absorbed it into Europe. Like, I think, like the problem with Israel, again, it's not so much they're obviously genocidal, it's that they have the power to act on it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when it comes to a country, you don't treat it like a person.
Yeah.
You know? Like, the solution to the genocide in Palestine, it's not rehabilitation, it's sort of like a demilitarization.
Well, I just meant, like, because we were talking about it in here, because we just couldn't wrap our head around how somebody could be fine with raping somebody to death in prison.
Yeah.
And, like, how do you even contemplate that? And how do you make a person like that? And it's kind of by, I read a few, I was going to read a few books. Yeah, I read Palestine, a comic book. But anyway, it's still a legitimate source.
Yeah.
But he was saying that, the way they just pick up Palestinians, drop them in to these prisons.
Yeah.
And they haven't fucking done anything. And then the IDF are usually like assigned as guards. And one of the stories in the book has like meeting the guard on the first day and then them being kind of like, kind of awkward and having conversations. And then by meeting them the last day of their run, it's like, get the fuck back, stay away from me.
Yeah.
Like they've seen stuff and they're like, that's awful. Like, why would I do this? Why would we do this? And then it's be like, well, it's because they fucking deserve it, obviously. And the other way that you make an IDF soldier believe that these people deserve it is by picking up the same innocent people again and again and putting them in prison. And then they're like, how do they fucking keep coming back here? What's so wrong with them that they're here? Do you know? Why do they keep making me do this to them? And then the other part of it is that part where it's like that, that story where it's like a perfect society, but then there's like, one child being tortured,
Yeah.
You find that out. And if you find it out, then you can choose to forget about it or you leave the city. I don't know what that story was, but it's similar where it's like when you hear Matt Lieb's amazing podcast, Bad Hasbro, one of the first episodes where he talks about going on a birthright trip and how Netanyahu came out to talk to a bunch of American teenagers and basically was encouraging them to like eat food, go see the best places, get laid. And that was one thing. He was like, you're being told by the Prime Minister of Israel to go out and fuck beautiful women and, beautiful men. And, the idea of this kind of like paradise in the desert. And then it's like, and then when you get used to seeing Palestinians and you're like, this is their natural habitat in the dirt. This is the only experience I have with Palestinians. And then you incorporate the other stuff that's Palestinian, like falafel, like fucking olives, like whatever. And anyway, then you're like, you're protecting something, you're dehumanizing something else, but then someone else. But you're also dehumanizing yourself,
Yeah. So I think with that guard, it's a bit about the Palestinians keep coming back. But as well, the other thing is that you, like by making the guard, say like you're a new guard, you go in, you're part of this system. By making you do the torture, that encourages you to rationalize that behavior.
Yeah, it makes you complicit as well.
It makes you complicit, sure, but it also makes you like, people try to resolve like some sort of conflict. Like you've done this horrific thing, and then you go, well, there must be a reason for it. Like, and so by making them take part, make the people then want to take part, And I think if you destroy the system, like say you remove Israel's ability to do these things, like that guard, he might never sort of like unravel that in his head, but he moves into a new system that it doesn't promote the same sort of behavior, So like that guard is probably always going to hate Palestinians. There's nothing you can do about that. But you don't have to deprogram him. You just have to like place him into a new system.
Yeah, and wait for him to die, basically be replaced by somebody else.
Essentially, yeah. And that's what happened with Germany. You know, like
Yeah.
there were plenty of Nazis going around the place, but they were just replaced into a different system.
Yeah, like you have an entire country that's been doing. But then even with apartheid South Africa, that was another thing that they were talking about. That there was a deprogramming and a sort of attempt at re-education.
Yeah, I actually don't know a lot about that. I know what was it, the Peace and Reconciliation Program or something.
Yeah, that was fascinating.
The only thing I know about that was they were like, if you sort of admit to the crime, we won't punish you for it. You're like, this is sort of what do they call it?
An armistice?
Yeah.
Or like, yeah.
Yeah.
No, what is it? It's not an armistice. It's like, yeah. Anyway, whatever, doesn't matter.
Like when you hand in guns, what's that called?
Yeah, I was thinking about library fines. Funny, your mind went to guns. I was thinking of the books because I'm an intellectual. I swear to God, I almost started one book the other day. So
yeah, what was it called?
Yeah. I don't remember. Catastrophe, written by Ronan Bennett.
Okay.
And then I also
That's Star Trek
another
or
book.
something.
No, it's written by the guy who did Top Boy, and it's set in like Tudor times or something.
Can you imagine Top Boy in Tudor times?
It'd be like King fucking Henry. It'd be like Wagwan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have a gun.
Let me look it up if I have that right. Even the Catastrophist. Sorry. And it is set. I love that Ronan Bennett is Irish.
Yeah.
The Top Boy. Yeah. He spent time in Longkesh.
Only an Irishman could create a world that vivid, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Wagwan.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel like you're there, probably. I mean, I wouldn't know, but yeah.
Well, you were in London.
Yeah, I was in London last week, and we went through Corbyn's constituency, and there was like a bunch of there was a mural with a bunch of love hearts around Corbyn there, so that was funny.
Yeah,
and somebody had written "Vote Corbyn" up in chalk on the wall, which was also funny.
I'd say we get it. We see the mural. You don't also have to write and vote Corbyn.
Well, actually, right next to the mural, they had. Give Jeremy back the whip. And I was like, oh, that must be an old sign then, you know?
Yeah. Give him a gun.
Yeah. What were we talking about though? The reason I brought that up was just because I was talking about like, can you heal these people? Can you do anything about it? And how do you deal with like racism like that, where it's just like, it seems to only be getting worse and worse and worse. Everybody's getting more mean. Yeah. And then there's nothing to be like, well, here's what we do to, I don't know. It's just more policing seems to be the only thing that's being offered. And I don't know.
But it really is like more visible police, because the police aren't doing anything. You know what I mean? The police don't want to.
And they don't want to do anything. Like we were pointing out, like they would love to be like that bit of from Newtown Mount Kennedy where the guard is like talking to these far right guys. I put it in a previous episode, but the guy is like, it's the guy from Dublin. So Newtown Mount Kennedy is in Tipperary, is it?
I don't know.
Right. Sorry about that. Sorry about that tip, except you do have Ross Cray, so Wicklow. So anyway, they're out there and they're filming this guard, because they just film everything they do for some reason.
Yeah.
And then the guard is like, I don't even want to be here. And they're like, we know, man, we know you don't want to be here, and you're one of us as well.
Wait, why are you giving them Dublin X? You can't give everyone a Dublin X.
They were from Dublin.
No, they were from.
They were.
Where the fuck? You all said the guard was from Dublin.
No, the guard's not from Dublin. The guard's from Wicklow.
The guard's
I said
from
that
Wicklow.
they were from Dublin. The people filming were from Dublin.
Oh, I thought you meant the guard was from Dublin.
No. Although he was shipped in from somewhere else and he was annoyed and he was like, I don't want to have to be out here like protecting this place from good Irish people. I'm doing his accent. That's my, a good, honest, rural accent, the one that I have, One time you referred to me as culturally Dublin, and I don't think there's anything that's been truer. What was the other thing I was going to say? I forgot. Here's a tweet, by the way, about it. I forgot to put out. John McGurk tweeted out. He retweeted from Holy Land, South Belfast, all of the different fucking white lads who always have like their hoods all the way up, like, and then the tassels or whatever you call them pulled so tight that all you see is like a tiny sliver of their face, like their nose just poking out the hole. Yeah. And they're all like hopping around like dickheads. And they have
the Holy Land always looks like that. Have you ever seen videos of that place?
All right, I haven't. I'll take your word for it.
I'm not even messing. It'll be like, it's like, I think it's in South Belfast, and it's where all the students live. But like, it literally always looks like that.
But anyway, John McGurk tweeted out, so they're jumping around, sorry. And now what I can see in this video is a Union flag, a tricolour, and then a Northern Ireland flag, and then the Israeli flag. And all of them are just like jumping around waving these. And John McGurk tweets, I mean, say what you want about the, air quotes, far right, but all the Nobel Prizes and accolades and memorial lectures, the Good Friday Agreement types never managed to unite working class loyalism and nationalism like this.
Wow.
Say what you want about the Germans, but they got the trains to run on time.
Yeah. That's fantastic because like a lot of people involved in the Good Friday were working class.
No, they don't understand. Working class means racist.
It is mad the way the Unionists have adopted the Israeli flag.
Yeah, they. I mean, it's an entire thing of just reactionary hatred of your enemy. So of course it was going to be adopted.
I read an article about. They tell you about this. There's the Orange Order. I think I told you about this. There's another. They're called Loyal Orders, and there's another one called the Black Order. And then there was this article written by a member of that, and he was just writing about his celebration of whatever day they celebrate. I don't think it's the 12th. I'm not sure. He was pretending to be annoyed about the Israeli flags. Like he was writing this for like a southern audience, I think.
Yeah.
And he was like, and people had Israeli flags, and I just don't think today's the day for it.
Yeah, good man. Very noble.
It seemed like he was just being like, and I for one distance myself from that particular flag on today of all days.
The other stuff,
and on other days, that's fine.
I love they. Yeah, sorry, no. I was just remembering the Irish Passport podcast, which I used to listen to for my sins, hosted by Naomi O'Leary. They went up for July 12th to see what was going on, see what the crack was. But they, so they went to like one kind of like normie one, do you know?
Yeah.
And then they had
are you going to tell the thing about them screaming into the bonfire again?
No. I'm going to lead up to that. Okay. But I mean, I don't have to say that bit now. You beat me to it. I was going to say that one really quick because I know I've said that a million times. It was what went before that. So like that's the one. Yeah, there's like the actual one that they go to late at night where it's like there's a big massive bonfire and there's a guy just screaming into it, and then you hear like Tim McInerney. I think his name's Tim McInerney. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, he's her co-host, but he's very like rattled and doesn't want to speak in case his accent gets picked out. Because it was terrifying, he said. But anyway, before that, they were at like just one of the normie ones, and they're marching down the street, and then the fucking whistles are going. They sound like shit, and they meet like a lovely elderly couple, and the elderly couple are like, "Yeah, no, this is just what it is. It's just barbecues. It's for the kids, and we have this culture, and this is what it is." And then they're like, "Yeah, we're also going to this other one later on," and then they were like, I mean, I mightn't go to that one." If, just, you probably couldn't have the same conversations that we're having. It's a bit rough. It's different. You can see they're like, but I just love when the guys are like, I know that this is going to make us look so bad. So like, please, like, I don't know how you can have that live alongside the thing that you like and still like the thing that you like, I mean, where it's like,
I suppose it is like, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I like the bonfires. I think they're cool. I
hate them.
The whole thing about it. But I think scream into a bonfire could do anyone some good. Do you know what I mean? But I think for people like that, they're just like it fulfills a social function, and then they just try not to think too hard about the sectarianism bit of it. This article was interesting because he was sort of like he's talking about so like the Orange Order is like the biggest order in Northern Ireland, and then you have the Black Order. It's called like the Loyal Black Order or something. And in order to be part of that, it's like you have to be part
of evil, doesn't it?
And you should see the outfits. The outfits are like. It is like, what if you had to draw a more sinister Orange Order?
That's so funny.
Are you looking it up?
I am looking it up.
Look it up. Black Loyal Order, I think that's what it's called.
Royal Black Institution. Does that make sense to you?
That could be it. Yeah. And like their sashes are black. No,
the first series of images that come up. One of them is I'll send it to you in the chat. Sorry to interrupt, but it was funny.
Yeah.
But this is one of the first images that came up for. If anybody's interested, he's a Marvel character who's actually played by Nidge. I can't remember his name. Proxima Midnight. Anyway, sorry, go on.
But the Orange Order is still pretty big, but this one, in order to be part of it, you have to be part of the Orange Order. And then there's like these like ceremonies that you have to pass through. You sort of have to be invited and all the rest of it. And then the numbers are really dwindling. Like in some of the lodges there's like 12 people and stuff. And he's giving out about how much it costs. He's like, the membership for the year is like £100, which is just astronomical. And it
for
really
the year?
Yeah. And because like with all these things, like, anyway, it doesn't matter. But he really is painting this picture of like this order and decline. And he's like, you turn up to the marches when everyone's really scruffy and no one's wearing ties, and I'm going to have to take that up now at the next meeting. And it was, he's trying to show that there's some dignity and there's some standards, but there really is, like, it's extremely embarrassing and it's pathetic, It really does seem like culture in decline,
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Fucking everything crossed. Jesus.
Yeah. I just think we had some sort of, secular bonfire thing going on. Be pretty good,
Well, if it was like, when you were saying like, I think everybody could benefit from screaming into a bonfire, for some reason I immediately imagined John Lennon on that little island when he was out there doing his scream therapies.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, and when I heard that, I was like, I thought about that might be good. But then apparently it actually really fucks you up if you do it the way that they were doing it. Like mentally.
Really?
Yeah.
But like, imagine if in your community you built like a 12-story bonfire, and then you had some guy base jumping off the top of it, and cool, you know.
The Red Bull bonfire contests, and yeah, they have somebody with a GoPro on top of their head, and they're dressed as like fucking. They've got like the stupid. What's the? Did you say is that base jumping? Is it where you have the fucking wings underneath?
What is that? That's
no.
What is that called? Maybe it
like
is
a fan suit.
Yeah,
or something.
They're cool.
But you're dressed as like Basil Brush or something. Trying to think of somebody who would be dressed as
in the north.
I just thought of Basil Brush, I think, because they mention him in Black Books, so that's why I,
Right, yeah.
So that just came out of nowhere. I was just reaching. No, I mean in general, it'd be like fucking somebody dressed as Peppa Pig.
Yeah. Why not?
Thank you. Yeah. What
would have been cooler
thing?
as well if he base jumped off it while it was on fire.
Yeah.
That would look really good.
Yeah. I was surprised with the fires as well. I mean, I shouldn't be. This is really stupid, but like that they were like bolting the pallets to each other, you know?
Yeah.
Because that seemed to be like, if you have to like bolt something and create an actual structure, then it's no longer a bonfire anymore, do you know?
Yeah, I get you.
Hey, do you know what? You should be putting that effort into building fucking modular homes for people.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
make them all out of pallets. I remember hearing that some guy had one of those fires. Like it was a good bit away from his house, but the heat that was generated off it was blistering the paint on the side of his house because those things are so fucking big.
Well, like I know that probably wasn't it. Maybe it was his house, but like, yeah, there's a real issue where, because they'll just build them like in the green by their house, and then it'll be so big that you hear like cracking the windows and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it just fucks the place up.
It's crazy to be like, do they need like planning permission, or would it be like if you even fucking like, or you know what I mean, like permission to put on an event, do you know, where it's like,
no way.
I know. I feel like they would be like, absolutely not. But then what you're doing is you're building like a 12, like you're saying, like a massive, massive structure.
Yeah.
And then the idea of just not being like, and then setting it on fire, and then the police being like, oh. Well, the police are like, first of all, the police aren't like, could you please stop that? Because like, there's like plenty of photos of the PSNI. It's like, thanks to the PSNI for getting us all fish and chips so we can continue. Like, you know, like the PSNI are like, you know, thumbs up. Don't lose the head too much. Don't go bananas. But, you know, if you want to have your big fire that you scream into, that's fine. But yeah, all my friends, like, well, maybe they're not my friends. Maybe they're not my fucking friends anymore. But anyway, they're all the animation people I know who moved up to Belfast, and it's like they were able to get regular steady jobs. They managed to get money then for houses. And then just like a week out of the year, they're like, I just have to go. And this is the one downside, is that for 1 week a year, I have to leave and then come back and hope that my house isn't too badly damaged by whatever's happened with these fires. It's just like,
yeah. Where are they living?
Sure, I don't know. I don't keep in touch with these people. I'm just telling what they do. They were taking photos from their back garden, and you could see the fucking bonfire. Like, you know,
yeah.
It wasn't like in the distance. It was like there.
No,
you know?
they're like right up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were just like,
well, my granny's from Ballyshannon.
Yeah.
In July, it'd always be full of people from Lifford and Strabane. Because they were just getting out of the north for the 12th.
Famous Dairy Girls episode. Probably the best one, I would say.
What happens?
They're just trying to leave before July 12th kicks off. And then it's like, you know, like a traditional sitcom episode where like the family is getting their bits and bobs and somebody always forgets something, you know?
Yeah.
And then Tommy Tiernan plays the dad. So he's like the most obvious, like, you know, from the 26. So like he's more panicked to get out than the rest of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I forgot this. And it's like, come on, we need to get going, you know? And then they get caught up in the march. And then if I remember correctly, they end up finding that a member of the IRA has hidden in their car boot.
Oh.
So, yeah.
The IRA is hiding in their car boot.
There is a member of the IRA who is on the run, who is trying to get out of Derry and has done so by hiding in the boot of their car. And so it just adds an extra element of tension to the whole thing.
Right.
Because then they were like in the middle of an Orange Order march, driving the car and sweating bullets and all this, trying to get through. But yeah, it's amazing how much Derry Girls took off. Like people really liked Derry Girls.
Yeah, I've never seen it. It's too sectarian.
I think I thought the first season had its moments, but ultimately the last episode of the first season I was like already piecing out on that because I was like, this sucks.
Why?
They basically just like, so the whole thing was like a goofy comedy, and then in the last episode one of their friends comes out as gay, and the entire episode, it's like those episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine where they stop everything to just be like, let's have an issues episode.
Oh yeah.
You know? And then at the end of it, even though they were fighting, now they've made up and they all start dancing on a stage. It's kind of such a carefree moment where they're dancing to, what's that fucking song by the Cranberries?
Just Ash My Father War, is there?
What's it called?
Just Ash My Father War.
Yeah, they're dancing to that. No, it's called Dreams.
Zombie.
Huh? Dreams. So they're dancing to Dreams. And then while they're dancing to it, so like the whole time throughout, it's like, you know, Tommy Tiernan is this kind of like, oh, this oafish, befuddled dad, you know? And meanwhile, his wife's father is living with them. And he thinks that he's, huh? Whatever. Zainab thought she was owning me there. She goes, also known as his father-in-law. It's like, I think that's implied by what I said.
It's easier to say. Tell her.
All right. So anyway, yeah, his father-in-law doesn't approve of him and is kind of always taken shots at him throughout the show and calling him a fucking idiot, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, as these girls have this carefree dance to the Cranberries, okay? Wouldn't you know it? The bomb is going off in Oma, all right?
Okay.
And they cut back to they intercut between them having this carefree dance and then back to the house where all of the older people are like watching in horror as the events in Oma unfold, you know? And the disapproving father-in-law like rests his hand gently on top of Tommy Tiernan's shoulder, and as there's tears are forming in Tommy Tiernan's eyes, and I was just like, fuck off, fuck this, man. I can't do this. I can't fucking do this. And then sure enough, then by the end of it, they have fucking Chelsea Clinton and then, you know, the one good RUC officer played by Liam Neeson. What was the point of the whole fucking thing? Why were we doing it in the first place, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's written for people in the South. And then everybody else, it's like a safari for them. They're like, I feel like I'm being educated. You know, if you're in America, or if you're in fucking, you know, England. And I just thought it's a fucking, and it also really felt like somebody, I don't know what the difference is, but there's a different texture to people who have gone to college to learn how to write TV and people who just wrote TV. You know?
Yeah.
Back in the day. I don't know what it is, but when you're watching it, you just have this feeling like there's just this rhythm to it. Initially, though, I did really like Derry Girls, and I really like the cast of Derry. I still like the cast of Derry Girls.
It is
so
funny.
I'm not contradicting myself. Yeah.
To sort of link thematically, someone comes out as gay, and then sort of link that with the Oma bombing.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about? Where it's just like, that is just so new TV, isn't it?
Yeah.
What have I got here? The other one is the Olympic stuff carried on well after we talked about it as well.
That's the end of the free bit. To hear the rest, go to patreon.com/CelticLigers. Thank you very much.